Awesome. So welcome everybody to the Agile International Coaching Meetup. Today is a very special day because I have a very good friend of mine, Tim Cormier, who I've known for a lot of years. Amazing professional, focusing on executive leadership. He has a great HR background, but organizational development as well, training. Tim is kind of like a jack of all trades, pretty much. And I'm very excited because his leadership knowledge and culture transformation knowledge has been key in some of the organizations that I have been working at. And he's also been a speaker at the Agile International Conference. So now we're excited because he's going to share some of his best practices and techniques with you guys today. So I'm not going to say anymore because I want him to also, kind of share a little bit about his background and share his exciting new topics with us. So welcome, Tim. We're very excited to have you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Regina, and thank you so much, team. It is just wonderful to be here and be able to talk about six hats and just really make this a dialogue and a conversation. It's awesome to be here. Before we get started, though, I do want to just take a moment and for those of you who have friends or family who are in the Tampa area, let's just send out some positive thoughts and some prayers to them because they're going to be going through a lot today and this evening and into the night. So we just want to make sure we have a moment of making sure that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, and for those of you that are not in the US, there's a big hurricane warning that's hitting this part of the United States. And so it's hitting all of Florida and then going up to the States. So a lot of folks that normally would be here on a Wednesday evening are probably somewhere getting shelter right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. So again, I didn't mean to start on a somber note, but just want to make sure we're there to be there with our friends and our family and give positive thoughts. And I'm glad everyone was able to make it here. It is just so awesome. Again, for those of you who are coming here for the first time, awesome to see you. This is just great. Continue to meet up with Regina and Rick. They're doing such a huge way to just really transform the world. And as they say, they're transformational experts. That's what they do. They really are transformational experts. Follow their lead. And then for those of you who come each week, great to see you again. It's great to see a friendly face. A couple things that you're going to look at here. You're going to notice right up front. I've got a lot of hats. Okay, so you'll see that I have a couple hats, but I'm very, very passionate about learning and development, learning from each other. This isn't about me sitting here for the next hour and lecturing. This is about us talking, sharing, working together, and collaborating and having ideas. We're just happen to use the six hats thinking approach. I've been in the corporate space for going on 30 years already. Wow, time has completely flown by. And I'm going to be going out on my own. And what I'm opening up is what's called Cormier Executive Optimization, CEO, coaching and consulting. And I'm really excited about it. In fact, I'm chomping at the bit and can barely wait to get going more into it. And if you'd like to talk offline, I'd love to talk to you about it. And so what we're going to be doing today, a couple just basic things right up front, talking about what is six hats. And I love that, Indira, you've had some experience in this. I can barely wait to hear your thoughts on this and give us some direction on this and deeper knowledge. I love it. So again, we're going to talk about it, just give an overview. Then we're going to do an activity using using a practice of how to use this methodology using the skills. And then what I want to do is at the end have a discussion. How would we use this in the real world? So it's not just theoretical, but it's about using it on the job. Because what we're talking about here are life skills. It's not just using it on the workplace, but it's truly a life skill about how to have six hats thinking. So six hats thinking, by the way, does that work for everybody? That just those quick three things, that's what we're going to talk about today. Excellent. Thank you, Sammy. Yeah, so when we're looking at innovation, problem solving, critical thinking, you start looking at how do we explore different ideas, implement those ideas, delivery. And by the way, that's what Agile is all about. How do we make sure, like Regina was saying, have that continuous improvement mindset? How do we explore different options? What do we do to make sure that we start implementing these approaches and then really get into developing that plan and that path to make it happen? This is an approach called Six Hats. And so what you're looking for are creative solutions where you really are looking at that idea generation. Too often we get into the mindset where we look at how do we problem solve instead of looking at creative problem finding. How do we make sure we're finding the right types of issues to work on up front instead of knee-jerk reactions, really focus on it. And so that's one key idea here is generating as many ideas as you can get at. And through this, it's really about enhancing teamwork. There's a tremendous amount of equity where people have a voice. Every one of you has an idea, has things to share, has value, has a different perspective. That's where getting that collaboration. And through this, it'll reduce conflict. How many of you have worked on a project where all of a sudden you're saying, we think we're on the same page, and next thing you know, 2 weeks down the road, a quarter down the road, and all of a sudden there's conflict because you're saying, I thought you were doing this. I thought this was the goal. Whose budget is this coming out of? You want to make sure you're having the right ideas right up front. Sound familiar with people? Yeah. And it's really about making sure we're promoting the healthy dialogue, seeking to understand another person's perspective and making sure you're on the same page. As a result of this, you end up having better decisions because you have the space for people to have that discussion and what we call cross-pollination of different teams collaborating together. And as a result, you get that buy-in because I'm part of that solution. I've been part of that option. I've given my ideas, and we're building on people's strengths where all of a sudden every one of us has a different perspective, different point of view, and we're focusing on what we do well. And this is what's called parallel thinking that Edward de Bono of Six Hats gets into. And again, it's creating that culture of equity. And so again, if you're ever looking for how do we have creating, building, having a high performing teams, then Six Hats is for you. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, has anyone heard of Indira, I'd love you to give us how have you used Six Hats? I'm curious. How have you used Six Hats? And Indira, I think you're on mute now.
Sorry, I lost the last part. You were saying?
How have you used Six Hats thinking?
Oh, yes. I was looking for this. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the book.
Yes.
It doesn't show well, but this is the book. So that's in my toolbox, as I say. Yes. Mainly for conflict resolution, and you say it in the best way possible. Like sometimes not everyone on the project or the team, they are on the same page, but we all want the same objective. So I have used it usually to facilitate and help the team just to focus once in one just everyone at the same time in a specific perspective of the issue, and that had helped us at the end to get to the solution or the possible solutions. I will let you go. You know that you can order the 16 hats in order to the result that you want to get from your audience, but I let that with you after I can.
Thank you so much. Awesome. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing that. Yes. So using it for conflict, that's excellent. Yeah. Conflict resolution and making sure you are having that healthy dialogue. Love it. Has anyone else heard of Edward de Bono? Because he's had several different books and approaches and podcasts and so forth on critical thinking, problem solving. Jen, I'm curious, in the psychology, have you heard of Edward de Bono? Has he come up at all? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm curious. In your field of study in psychology, have you heard of Edward de Bono?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, no, actually, I have not heard of Edward de Bono, so I'm excited.
Oh, cool, cool. All right, thank you. Yes. And so what he's done is he's had several different books. What he's talked about is what's called lateral thinking instead of having just your very prescriptive thinking. He wants a very creative, out of the box type of approach. One of the books he has is How to Have a Beautiful Mind, that everyone can have a beautiful mind. He's talking about think before it's too late. I don't know about you. Is anyone here, have you ever said something before you think, you say it, and you're like, oh, I wish I would have thought before I said it? So he has a book on that. He has a book literally called The Thinking Course, How to Think. And then one of the things that's happened too is getting into child psychology. He's had people saying, well, this is for adults and in the workplace. Will this work with children and young adults? And absolutely. And so one of the books he has out right now is called Teach Your Child to Think. And yeah, and so it's really a powerful book. And then one of the things he has too is intelligence is not enough. And we've all worked with people before who are really smart, maybe very book smart, but they don't have a whole lot of common sense. And I'm sure we can come up with a couple of people there that we think about that they're smart, but they're like, hey, they may not have a great attitude or what have you. And that's what he's saying, is that intelligence is not enough.
Okay.
So
now, Tim wanted to add that on the chat, I think Sammy is saying that he's used it for brainstorming sessions.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't see the chat. I apologize. So Regina, please interject. I really appreciate that. So yeah, Sammy, tell us more. I apologize. I didn't mean to leave you hanging there.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, I just use 6 thinking hats to get different perspectives on sort of new ideas, and also when we try and solution, and it helps us sort of go through all the raids, like the risks, issues, dependencies, and just think about it from different come at it from different aspects, different areas. So you might have people who always work together, start to think in the same way, and it gets a bit, sort of too structured or zero focused.
Yeah,
and the 6 thinking hats has helped us to sort of break that out a little bit.
absolutely. What's that called when everybody is thinking the same way?
Groupthink, I think.
Yeah, the old group think, and someone is afraid to challenge that thought and saying, can we look at this from a different perspective? You feel that you're unable to say something. It gets that group think. Yeah, thank you so much, Sammy. Again, I apologize for not
no worries.
calling it earlier. Yeah, so, and again, perfect transition into what is 6 hats. What I'm going to do is just give a quick overview of this, and then we're going to jump into an activity. So again, as I said, you're going to find out a lot of things about me. Right up front, though, I love hats, and I love Michigan, University of Michigan. I just absolutely love University of Michigan. So when you're wearing a white hat, this is what's called for what are just the facts. So there's a problem, an opportunity, a situation, whatever it may be, and you lay it out there. What are the facts? That whole Joe Friday, just the facts, man, just whatever they may be. What are the things that we know already about a situation? And you want to be able to have those. And you've heard this before. Let's put on our thinking caps. Well, that's what Edward de Bono is saying. Let's put on our thinking hat caps, but he's putting them into different colors and different ideas. Now, there are times where somebody might jump into a different color hat and say, you know what, that's great. We're going to whiteboard that right now, and we'll get to it later. So right up front with our white hat, we just say, what's known about this situation? What's the data out there? Are there benchmarks, best practices that we can lean into? Are there different things that we already know about? So that's what we call having the white hat. Then you go into what's called the yellow hat. And this is where I have another home. It's also outside of Boise, Idaho. And I went to grad school at University of Idaho. And so that's the yellow hat. And the yellow hat, this is about the brightness, optimism, the positivity. Why will this work? You ever have this where there's an idea and somebody will say, oh, that's a great idea. That'll work. This is that person where all of a sudden going to say, yeah, this is great. What's the value? What's going to work about this? Why is this such a good idea? This is that yellow hat that everybody at the same time is saying, why is this a good idea and what will work? It's really getting into the appreciative inquiry, the strength finders, what's good, what's working, how do we continue to build upon it? There are some people, as I said, who are naturally very good at this. By the same token, there are other people who have what's called the black hat, which is, oh, that'll never work. Have you ever, those people you work with and they come up with an idea and the first thing they say, oh, no, that'll never work. That's not our culture. That's not how we do things here. They talk about why it's a problem, why it's difficult. Here's the thing, giving people the space and the opportunity to give that perspective. By the way, why is it so important to have that person speak, to have that space to be able to say, that'll never work? I'm curious, why is it so important to have the space for somebody to say, that will never work?
They might be
For me,
right.
Tell us more, Bob.
Some solutions that are presented just aren't viable. And it's good that might lead someone to, when they're thinking of rebutting that, come with a different solution.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Come up with a different solution. Love it. Thank you so much. And then Indira, I think you were going to say something.
Can I say something? Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, King David.
Okay, so I think one of the reasons why it is good to give people like that the opportunity to speak is because we want to hear all the voices. I mean, at least the silent ones. And it's one of those things. I like to have this kind of people in the room. Actually, the reason why I like to have them is they help me to help the entire group think in a different direction. Perhaps they have tried something and it didn't work. Maybe there is something that that is gray areas that they didn't point out to the coach. So with such person in the room saying that would not work, it just gives me the opportunity to ask, why do you think it wouldn't work? What have you tried, or what have you done differently, or what have you done in the past that made you say this wouldn't work? And then you see the ideas and thoughts, people begin to, to talk about it and stuff like that. So yes, we don't always want to have the people, the yes members in the room. We also want to have the people with the black hats.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, King David. I really like that. And I'm going to build on that for just real quick here, is that I've been in meetings before where we all agree. And so it's important to say, hey, can we put on just take a step back and say, what's wrong with this idea? What would our critics say? What would our competitors, if you want to look at more of a global perspective, what would our competitors say? What would our other people say? What could be a defining moment to this? And it's being able to look at this from a perspective saying, why wouldn't this work? And just putting it out there. Yeah. And if I butcher your names, I apologize so much. But Saruchi?
Yes, yes, team. I have a quick thought on this. Indirectly, when we allow some people to have maybe controversial thoughts or not aligning with the thought process that is going on, that is nothing but you are trying to allow disharmony in the team, which is nothing but making them self-managed and bringing the teamwork to the next level. So it's like, let them talk. I mean, as long as they are talking with each other respectfully and allowing them to talk on different perspective, it is more about encouraging the teamwork and bring it to the next level.
Love what you're saying. It's okay for us to disagree. Just because we may not see things the right way doesn't mean we may not, or the same way, doesn't mean we may not have harmony. And how do we make sure that even if we disagree, how do we treat each other with respect, dignity, and be able to trust each other in that conversation, giving that space right up front? I love what you're saying. Love it. And then Indira, I think you're going to say something originally, and I cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you. Almost everything is said, but it's allow us to, I think, to identify maybe blind spots. It's like sometimes destruction take the whole team and us ourselves from our comfort zone, and that helps.
Yeah.
On the solution, just that.
Love it. Thank you so much. Love it. Now, here's the thing. What if all of a sudden we're talking in the yellow hat saying, let's talk about what's working. And then here comes negative Nelly Tim. Oh, that'll never work. And everything that I'm saying, we shut down. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is give the space, talk about what's working, give some space for that. Then we say we're going to shift gears and go to what's not working. I want to make sure we're understood with that, because what happens if all of a sudden, let's say Mary Bell, every time she has an idea and every time she says something, I go, oh, that'll never work. Oh, we've tried that before. Really? That's what you want to do? What would happen if ever, she says that? What's going to happen after she comes up with one or two ideas? What's she going to do?
coming up with ideas.
She's going to stop coming up with ideas. And why is that a bad thing, by the way?
Because then we're just going to do the same old thing and not nothing new.
Yeah, she may have some very valuable nuggets of information that we can all learn from. And she's on the team for a reason. That's what we're saying with equity. You're put on this team because you're valued and you're going to bring benefit. We want to hear from you. And if all of a sudden you feel like you're being shot down, you're not bringing that perspective. Okay. And that's what we're looking for, the different perspectives. It's okay to say what's working, what's working really well, and then say, you know what, if somebody says, you know what, hey, that'll never work. You know what, we'll get to that in a minute. Can we parking lot that for a moment? And we'll get to that when we start talking about black hats. That's where you need to have a strong facilitator to be able to have that discussion where you don't mix your hats. That's what we're talking about when we're saying that parallel and lateral thinking, that you're really having that one approach at a time, even though you're going to be talking about it from different perspectives. I want to make sure that that's clear, because you want to focus on the one hat at a time. And I've had people say, can we start with the black hat first? Or do we always have to start with the yellow hat? Personally, I like to start with what's working well. But those of you, Sammy and Indira, what hat have you found that works well? What do you start with first? After you get the white hat, I should say, after the white hat.
After the white hat?
Yes, which one do you like to go with?
Either blue, or if I want to get to the, to a new idea, it can be the blue one, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
because it's focused on the process. And
Nice. Okay, cool. I actually have never gone from the white to the blue. Thank you. Excellent. Sammy, how about you?
Yeah, so actually what we've done a couple of times is just assign people hats and then have a conversation. So whichever way it sort of goes. And I'm wondering if you're saying that you go through these in order, top-down order for what you've got here. And then everyone puts on the same hat, or do you, how do you normally do it?
Thank you so much for clarifying. So that's wonderful. One of the ways you could do it is literally assign the team a different color hat, and that's what they focus on, and then they come back and share their findings. Or you have the whole group. That's typically how I've done it in the workshops, where I've done it one hat at a time, and we just talk about it and really focus on it that way. But to streamline the process in the real world, that's what I've seen, where we have our teams. Okay, you are going to be the white hat, you're going to be the yellow hat, and you're going to be the black hat, and you assign that out.
Don't you want them to select which hat they would like because they have feelings or thoughts about each one?
Thank you so much, Bob. And that you took the words right out of my mouth, that some of these things come naturally to people. Some people are naturally, hey, that's a great idea, this will work because, and some people are naturally, that's not such a great idea because. You're exactly right. Focusing on what are their strengths and their talents, what do they naturally do really well? Love it. Love it. Sammy?
So yeah, one thing we've said in the past is you can't choose your own hat. You have to be given a hat. That way it sort of mixes it up a little bit and takes people out of their comfort zone.
And so you guys are seeing many different approaches to get this done. Again, my comfort zone, the way I like to do it is one hat at a time, but going through this, you can do it many different ways, different perspectives, what works for your organization. The main thing is you want to get many different perspectives. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. And then the red hat is, this is where, let's face it, there's some people, by the way, I'm a huge hockey fan. So this is the Chicago Blackhawks. I grew up right outside of Chicago, and I'm a huge hockey fan. Panthers down here in Florida, I love them. And the Blackhawks, I'll always be a Blackhawks fan. Here with the red hat, this is where you're thinking about, what are my feelings about this issue? I don't know if I can really say there's facts or data behind this, but this is what I'm thinking. This is really what my intuition is telling me. And let's face it, there are some people, you look at Myers-Briggs, that assessment, there are some people who are really intuitive. They really have some a feel for just how things are going, how systems are working and processes. And it's important for them to get their feelings out. What are their feelings and their hunches about something? And yes, I did say the F word, feelings. In the workplace, we really do have feelings and hunches. Yeah, I don't know. Indira, anything you want to add to that about the feelings? Because that's the one that I've had people have the biggest questions about, typically is the red hat. And I don't know, Indira, are you on mute?
It always happens. I have used the red hat a little bit different just because in a conflict resolution situation with the team is so stressed. I have used it more rather than for intuition to let them just what does that makes to you, what's the influence that had in you, and then we have all that relief moment from everyone on the team so they can after pass to the pragmatic things of the issue. So that's kind of how I have used it.
Love it. No, that's great. Again, taking it to a whole nother level. Love it. Thank you so much. Yeah. And then the green is, this is where we start looking for what are the possibilities that can happen as a result of this. With this new opportunity, as we're going through this solution, are there other things that could benefit from this? Are there new concepts, new perceptions, things that we can build upon this? Are there other markets we could go into, other customer bases? Are there other talents that we can leverage? Are there other things along that? This is about the possibilities. That is this, you've heard of the green field. It's that concept here when you're looking for a problem. What are the green field? What are the infinite possibilities that could happen as a result? And you really start thinking about, how will this relate to something else? And we build upon it. Anybody want to add upon that with the green? Okay. And then the blue hat, back to Michigan, the blue hat, this is really looking at that thinking process itself. And I loved how Indira was saying this can gets into the idea generation and getting into the creativity and the problem solving. This is that, how do we make sure that we're following these different processes and making sure that there's a process where we can generate as many ideas as possible and everyone has the opportunity to speak and to collaborate and give their perspectives. All right, that's the approach that we're a quick overview of 6 hats of thinking, that it's really putting on a different color to focus on different things at a time, different perspectives. Okay, so that's a quick overview. Any questions or clarifications? Ali or Regina, anybody in the queue?
I might just ask for a little bit of clarification just on the blue hat, because you said it was about the thinking process, and is that the actual discussion process or the process of what it is we're going to do, and how does that go in? Is that more like a mentor or a coaching stance or a facilitator stance, or?
So the answer is yes, all of the above. It's really about discussing, just like how I was saying, I like to go step by step. And you're saying assigning different groups. If there's going to be a mentor in this, if we're going to say you select, like Bob was saying earlier, you select the hat you want to have. This could also be, you know what? No, we want to make sure we're going to get you out of your comfort zone. It's really discussing that up front and making sure that people understand what's the process that you're going through. Did I answer your question? I want to make sure that.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. Saruchi.
Yes, team, quick question. Is it okay if we wear combination of 2 hats? Because many times about one concept you may have 2 feelings, like, okay, I'm optimistic about it and I would like to be creative about it. So I may say that I would like to wear yellow plus green both. Is it okay if that kind of scenario will be attempted?
Let's open that up to the group. What do you think? I'm curious. Let's hear from the group. What do you think?
I think since you have stated that, go ahead.
No, sorry, Bob, you go.
Yeah, I think since you stated sometimes you can go through and visit each hat and hear from each person with each hat, then of course it's okay to wear two different hats. Maybe it's preferable that everybody think on each of the individual hat bases.
Love it. Good, good. And then what were you going to say, Sammy?
Yeah, it's really as Bob's saying, yeah, it's you know, fine to sort of try the multiple hats, but I'd say have clarity. Like, oh yeah, now I'm thinking my blue hat, or now I'm thinking of my red hat, just so that you know it doesn't turn into a bit of a free for all and everyone starts switching hats and no one knows what's going on, and then we lose the concept. Yeah.
Love it, love it. And Dira, what were you going to say?
Oh, yes, that's a super interesting question because I think there's no wrong or right way of doing it, but the first thing, at least that I have into account, is why am I doing the exercise with the team? So what do we need to accomplish with that? Of course, that taking into account just one hat at a time, that will allow the team to just be so focused and dig so big on, let's say, on the information that they have or they don't have, or the risks that they can have, or challenges, that maybe they are going to find something else that they didn't thought about before. So that's the importance that I see, or the how using just one hat at a time can help to go further, maybe when they are stuck. But definitely, if sometimes I could have the opportunity to use two hats, maybe I will think about how to use that. It's not
Yeah, no, so
just
thank you. I'm with you, with you. That's why I like to do one hat at a time and let people know. And here's the thing. So Saruchi, you're onto something here. We can have two feelings at the same time. I'm going to give you a real life example that happened. My daughter graduated high school this year. She graduated back in June. Okay, so on the one hand, I felt proud. I felt so happy. I was like, wow, she's so amazing. I'm just so happy for her. Then on the other hand, I felt sad. Oh, sad because she's not a child anymore. She's an adult. She's going to be going off to college. She's going to be going off on her own. You can feel those same emotions at the same time. And it's being able to have that moment to say, I'm happy, I'm proud, and I'm sad at the same time. That's what we're talking about when we wear our different hats. I think this really could work if this is in place. You know what? It might not work if we have this in place. And that's why I like to focus on the different hats one at a time. Does that make sense, Saruchi? I want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yes, absolutely. I got it. And I was thinking about two similar kind of hats because I think green talks about creativity, possibilities, which aligns very well with yellow, which is nothing but optimism. So I was thinking of two hats which can align. Uh, uh, I loved your example, but it indicates the two different emotions which are opposite to each other. But yeah, I understood your point of view, and it answers my question. Thank you.
Excellent. I know. Thank you. I like the interaction that we're getting here. This
Mhm.
is great. And so let's look at an activity here to use the 6 hats thinking. I want to just give a quick overview. What is it? So let's jump into it. Let's jump into an example here. So here is an opportunity. This is our mission that we want to be able to work on. This is our problem, our opportunity, our issue, however you want to call it. But our mission is that in your community, our leaders have decided they want to convert all of these 4-way stops. You know that there's a 4-way stop. What they want to be able to do is convert all of those 4-way stops into roundabouts. Okay, that is what the leaders are deciding. We're going to, in our community, wherever you are, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in Montreal, or you're in Florida or Alabama, you know what, California, we are going to switch these from 4-way stops to roundabouts. Okay, that is our mission and our challenge. So let's go ahead and does that everyone understand that, by the way? Does anyone have any questions about a roundabout, what it is?
Yeah, does it apply to three-way stops also?
You know what? Can you use that? That is a great question to see which hat it'll fit into. You're a step ahead of the game, Bob. I love it. I love it. You definitely have your thinking cap on. All right. So I'm going to leave that up as a teaser. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to put on our white hats. Let's just go ahead and we're going to have our white hats. And what I want you to think about here is let's go ahead and what are just the facts? What information is known? What information do we need to move forward? Bob just asked a great question here. Does this apply to three-way stops too? Are we going to use three-way stops? Are they going to be part of these roundabouts also? What are just facts out of there? Where are communities that have already used this? You know, what's this going to cost and so forth? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, is this the time to say what is the purpose of this? What is the goal?
Love it.
If I don't understand the purpose, I can't come up with, and I can understand the goal. I really shouldn't come up with solutions.
Yeah. What's the do we know the purpose of why we're doing this? I love it. Is
there a due date?
Is there a due date on what is the cost? You're asking all the right questions right up front. So what we're going to do real quick is, Allie, can you put how many people do we have?
13 participants, 11 attendees.
About 11 or 12, not counting us.
Let's put people into groups of let's put people into groups of let's say 4.
Okay.
Okay, in the breakouts, and let's give
2 to 3 people in each.
Yes.
Okay.
And let's have them come up with some ideas here on the white hats. What questions would you ask using this information here? We just gave a bunch of really good ones right up front. And let's have them have 3 minutes in a breakout. 3 minutes to focus on the white hats.
Okay.
So when we go to the breakout, take a snapshot of this, guys. That way you can have the different hats in front of you. It's for discussion, right? I think that would be good, Tim, right? Or no? Because I think when we move to the breakout room, we won't be seeing this anymore, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see this.
By the way, my brother is here. Hey, Russ.
Okay, I'll move you guys to your breakout rooms.
3 minutes, only 3 minutes. Do I need to stop sharing or will it keep sharing?
Okay, 2 rooms have 4 members.
Okay. Yeah, my brother brought his whole family. That's awesome. It looks like him and his wife and his 2 daughters. That's pretty awesome.
You've got a lot of support from your family today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go join.
It's really nice.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you at the end.
She's gonna join. Are you asking me or Regina?
Yeah, I'm gonna run the restroom real quick.
All right.
Allie, are we able to bring them back?
We pull them back to the main room.
That went by quick.
Yeah, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is fast.
I'm sorry, I had the time box.
3 minutes goes by. You're virtually brought back in here very fast. All right, Allie, is everybody back?
We are waiting for, okay, everybody should be back.
All right, perfect. All right, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put the questions that you had, one of the questions that that you had, put it in the chat, please. I know that beginning we had a couple people right up front. What is the budget? What are the due dates? And like Bob said, hey, why are we doing this in the first place? What's the whole reason behind converting four-way stops to roundabouts? What's the purpose of this? Okay, so yes, who will benefit? Love this. Who's going to pay for this? Whose budget? Yes. Why are we doing this? Who will benefit? And Dira, what is the purpose and the goal? How do we measure success? How do team members align with the scope? Why does someone think that the roundabouts are a better way than four-way stops? What is the extent of these changes? Yeah, and Dira, please tell us a little bit more about this. And you're on mute again.
That's my life. I'm on mute all the time. Always. I don't know. I was saying those are the notes of our team. So we wrote it all down and that's it. So we talk about the purpose and the goal. What is Bob was mentioning that before. How do we measure success? Bob, I don't know the fourth question if I took it right or you want to
No,
explain
it's
more about.
not why does somebody think it's better, but what data do we have? It sounds like this should be
What
better, but what
data?
data do we have?
Factual.
Yeah.
And how do we know it's not someone saying, I have someone that creates roundabouts, so I'm going to throw them business. So it's fraud based.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
This is Miami. We're used to that.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, and I love what Sabia, tell us about this. What's the cost? Not just the money, but the chaos and the learning curve, which goes into what Sammy's talking about with training. Good. Tell us more about that, Saba.
Yes. And so actually, it's interesting because I ended up in the same room as Sammy. And so this was part of our discussion, right? So Sammy lived in both England and, England and Australia. And I have driven in a lot of places where there's roundabout. Roundabouts work when everybody knows the rules. If we are doing this in the United States, it's chaotic. It's going to be chaos. And what's the cost of business, and not just for us to put the infrastructure in place, but how many accidents, how many slowdowns, how much education we need to do, how much frustration, how many fights are going to break up because of the anger issues. Like, we're Americans, right? So what's the cost of that? And also, let's take it a step further, right? What's the cost of maintaining that long term?
Love it. Love it. Now this is great. Now this is great dialogue. By the way, this is why I love to start with a white hat right up front, because this is really the nuts and the bolts. Let's get this out there. What's the data? What's it saying? I really like this. You get these. By the way, what happens if we don't have the answer to these questions? What happens if we do not answer these?
Well, you can answer all you want. If we don't know the goal of doing this, all bets are off. Why are we doing this? What's the why?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, as parents, we tell our kids why, because I'm your father, I said so. We can't go to our companies and say why, because I'm the manager. Why? I'm the leader. You don't get that buy-in. You need to get people to understand what's happening. Get them, you know, they bring up their concerns. Well, let's make sure we're addressing those and answer those. Getting that buy-in and making sure that people have that perspective right up front. I think this is really important with the facts. So that's, again, that's my preference. I love to start with a white hat, getting those facts out there right up front. Now, there could be some times where all of a sudden, while we're gathering facts, we can jump into another hat, okay? And again, this is where I like to go into the yellow hat. And so with the yellow hat, this is where, sorry, we start talking about, you know, well, what's good about this? What's good about converting four-way stops to roundabouts? You know, what is so positive about this? You know, what are all the benefits that are going to happen with our communities, with the traffic and so forth? What are the benefits that you can see? And you give people the opportunity to talk about what's good about this idea. Okay. And so, Allie, can I have you put people back into the breakout groups? And I'd like them to work on what's good about it. Wearing your yellow hat, what's good about this, the optimism, what's working with this. Okay. And I'd like you to come up with some questions of this. And 3 minutes, please, about the yellow hat. And again, if you're in the same groups, awesome. If it's not, and if it's different groups, that's fine too. Everyone gets an opportunity to talk to each other.
I have to say, you look really good in hats.
Let me tell you, thank you. So that was really nice of you. Bald guys love hats. Let me just tell you that. So you just made my day to tell me that I look good in a hat, because I love hats. I wear them all the time. I have to have them in Miami.
But bald guys are sexy guys too. So don't don't think that it's better to wear a hat. It's just that you do look good in a hat.
Well, thank you so much.
Are we going to be transferred to the breakout rooms? I guess we are.
Yeah. All right.
Going great so far.
We have until 7:30, right?
Yeah, we have until 7:30.
7:30, not 7:45.
You can if you want to.
No, I want to be respectful of people's time. I want to give space. We won't do the next ones here because I think they get the gist of it. What we'll do is we'll talk about it as a team.
Sometimes speakers do extension because the attendees they like interacting, they like asking questions, so it prolongs your presentation, even though 1 hour and 30 minutes or 1 hour and 15 minutes is a little bit long. It's if we have active attendees, it's
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm respected though. It's yeah, because especially for the people here in Miami, the hurricane and stuff, you just never know. I'll stop at 7:30, but I want to make sure that they see that's the gist. We'll go through each one of these still, but we won't go into breakouts. We'll just have them share their ideas in the chat, and then we'll pick out like 1 or 2 of them. Okay. But I want them to know that's the process that you really want to do, is spend a deliberate amount of time on each hat.
I'm on my way to buy this book because
actually it's for 99 cents on what's that called, the online book, what's that called? I'm literally drawing a blank.
Kindle.
Thank you. I couldn't think of Kindle. It's 99 cents right now on Amazon.
Well, thank you. I will add that to my cart.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a fun read, it's an easy read, and it's so basic. You really get it, you know.
The author sounds like he has a lot of great books. And you look like
Yeah,
you read a
well,
lot
he
of these
really
books.
focuses on thinking about thinking. That's the focus he's really on, is how to it's being very deliberate about how we think. And you know, agile is really about that, being deliberate and focusing on how are we doing processes and how are we going through things. And I think that really makes a lot of sense. It really it's just another tool, as Indira was saying. I think all scrum masters and anyone in agile should be using it, and they probably naturally do, which is kind of a cool thing.
So I was gonna say something earlier about um what's gonna happen if you kind of reject the opinions of your teammate, like using if you have the black cup. And I thought that would not serve the purpose of agility, which is a growth mindset. Because if you are not able to share and you're not able to accept ideas from other people, how are you learning?
Can you bring that up? Because this will fit really well here. Because that's actually a point I was going to bring up. And perfect teeing up. Can you bring that up?
Definitely.
Yeah,
I would
thank
love
you.
to.
Yes. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring him back.
Let me know if you should pull them back. Okay.
Yeah, we can pull him back now.
Okay, bringing them back.
Hey, Jen. Hi, Maribel. Maribel. Elka.
I am sorry for disrupting your conversation, but I have to bring you guys back.
Yeah,
And
Mirabel
continue
was
the
just giving
conversation
us
here.
a good tip. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I
I'm
am
bad.
so sorry.
It's okay.
Well, you know what? We'll have to have her give her point here in a second. But yeah, if you can go ahead and
Okay.
put your ideas in the chat, we'd love to hear what's good about this. What's good about converting four-way stops to roundabouts? You know, and what's positive? Who's going to benefit? What are the benefits of doing this here? If we can go ahead and have you put those in the chat, please. And by the way, moving forward, we're not going to go from a time perspective. We're not going to have you go into breakouts anymore. We're going to share as a team. But I just want you to see that's the process that I prefer to do. Like, you literally are very deliberate with each hat that way. We'll still cover the rest of the hat with these, but we just want to see we won't go to the breakouts. All right, so Maribel, tell us about the less confusion. We hear that we're all sitting on the edge of our seats here. What do you mean when you say less confusion? Why is that a benefit? And Maribel, are you on mute?
Hi, I'm back. Do you hear me now?
Yes, now we can. Yes.
Okay. What I was saying is that when there's a four-way stop, there's usually more confusion because the person doesn't know who will go first. And if it's a roundabout, maybe that would lead to less confusion because everyone is going the same way.
All right, I'm going to put on my black hat and disagree because the rules are clear and they're very similar.
Bob, can we hold up? What we're going to do is we're going to put a parking lot that, and this was something that Allie and I were talking about a moment ago. We're going to build upon that in 2 minutes. Can we just pin that for a second and we'll come back to it, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Maribel, for bringing that
You're
up.
welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, and so Sammy's got a bunch of here, less accidents with people not knowing whose turn. There's a flow of traffic, eco-friendly, saving the planet, psychological safety, psychological positivity of not getting a ticket for running a stop sign, okay? Positivity of having self-doubt to organize for a roundabout, okay? Maribel said the less confusion. Regina, we just realized that roundabouts psychologically have more of a self-organization approach than stop signs. Nice. Drivers will be more cautious when driving. Pedestrian safety. Yep, only one car needing to stop. Okay, love this here. So this is great. You're coming up with a lot of different ideas. Now, so let's get into this. Allie, what was the question you were asking me, which is very much right and kind of in alignment with what Bob was saying. What's the question you were asking me?
It was about the if you keep on using the black cap thinking, and you keep rejecting the ideas of your team members, and it's not going to serve the purpose of agility, which is a growth mindset. Because if you keep on doing that, it's not going to foster an environment where people can learn from each other and accept ideas from other people. So that's
Yeah,
really the
thank you so much for bringing that up, and thank you. Here's the thing is, as we bring these up, hey, it's more eco-friendly, it's more pedestrian friendly. Here's the thing is, somebody might say, you know what, I don't know if I agree with that. This is where you want to have the dialogue saying, tell me more about that. Why is that? And so that gives the space to be able to have that conversation. At the end of the day, you know what? We may not agree with everything. We may not agree with this, but this is an opportunity for it. It gives an opportunity for dialogue. And at the end of the day, I may not agree with this, but you know what? I'm going to say, Maribel, I'm glad you brought that up. And this is a decision that we came up with as a team, and I'm going to support it. Maybe me personally may not agree with that 100%, but you know what? As a team, I'm going to support this because it's best for the team. But I want to make sure I'm airing out my concerns, my questions. And instead of it saying, I don't agree, it's tell me more about that. Help me understand more about that perspective. How did you come to that point of view? How did you come to that point of view that but it's better for pedestrian safety? Having that conversation, that dialogue. What's the benefit of having that right up front?
It gets all the facts out there and everyone on the same page.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we may not agree with each other. We may not, I don't know if I agree with that as a benefit, but we want to make sure, let's get it out there and let's have that discussion. That's what we're saying, is that opportunity to reduce conflict and get on the same page. And sometimes we just need, let's let the data and let's, speak for itself and let's see what happens. We're not always going to agree with everything. So again, I think it's important to give that space to be able to have that conversation. But again, if we shut the person down and, each time somebody talks, we say, no, I don't agree, that won't work. At some point, they're just going to stop sharing their opinions, and everyone needs to be able to share their perspectives.
It may also be in the discussion, we as a team decide that this point really does not have an impact on our final solution or decision.
Love it. And again, this is in the ideating. And in your ideating, you may not, at great point, that at your end result, you may not have every single point that you're bringing about. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, and Indira, I love what you're saying here, that it'll create more jobs. Now, that I think also goes into the green hat. This
That's
is
someone from my team. I don't remember if it's Sarah or who was, guys. So you can. I copy on behalf of you, but
yeah, but I think so. I think this is where where sometimes you could have the blending of two hats also, because this could create additional jobs. That could be a yellow, that could be a green. I'm okay with that as long as you capture it. Doesn't, if you're saying, well, Tim,
Right.
which one is it? Honestly, as long as we capture it, that's the most important thing. So I love where you're going to that. So yeah, this is giving that space, what's working, what's why is this going to be a benefit? Okay, so we do that with our yellow hat. Then our next one we jump into, and as I said, just from a time perspective, I'm not going to have us go into breakout rooms. I want us to be able to share our ideas here. If we can put them in chat, but let's just go ahead and discuss as a team here. Putting on our black hat, what are the risks, the difficulties, the problems of converting all of our four-way stops to roundabouts? What are the difficulties, the problems? Are there risks? Are there some problems associated with converting to roundabouts? If I can have you go ahead and put those in the chat, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then what we'll do is we'll look at a couple of those, please. Right up front. I love it, Sammy. Financial problem costs. Tell us more about that. Right up front, the cost.
Yeah, I don't think it's free to convert to put roundabouts in. There's quite a lot of like infrastructure change, pulling down signposts, putting in a big block, changing the markings on the road, maybe sort of like big announcements, change management. Yeah, I know it's a massive program of work.
It is. It sounds so easy, but it's pretty massive. You're onto that. And I love who just said this, more space. So Bob, tell us more about that. More space.
Well,
needed.
my experience is roundabouts take more space because you have this part in the center, which you don't have with a four-way stop. And does it include three-way stops? And it'll take much more space. And also we have a four-way stop that's right next to a canal. So there wouldn't be room for a roundabout on that because of the canal. And also, do you compensate people for their property loss? I mean, and what if they don't want to give up? Didn't you say we eminent domain, we take over? What happened to my property rights?
Yeah. And so what sound could be very simple, could be a great idea. You know, when you start putting into practicality, does it go everywhere? Then it's like, okay, do we not do it around lakes or around rivers? How much is this going to cost for us to do the eminent domain, to buy the property? Does it include three-way stops? Are we including it in here? So you really start flushing out these questions here. You know, are people unfamiliar with it? You know, is this going to be some more confusion? Are there going to be more accidents, more fatalities, where it does the exact opposite of what we're hoping for? Now, here's the thing. Why do we need to make sure we're having these right up front? Why do we need to make sure we're bringing these questions here? Yeah, lethal for bike riders. Love it. Yeah, what about all the different types of riders? What happens if we don't have a good answer for this? Yeah, tell us more about that, the mitigating. Oh, I'm sorry, interrupted somebody. And then if we can have you go next, Regina.
Sorry, I thought you were asking the question to be answered, but if we don't know the answer to these now, we might know them halfway through doing it and decide against it.
Yeah, love it, love it. And then mitigate the risk. Tell us more about that, Regina.
No, you have to mitigate the risk. If not, you're not going to have a successful project.
We'll have a successful project.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it. And here's the thing: every one of us in our roles, we have to have a certain amount of risk that we have to be comfortable with. Doing nothing is a risk also. Everything we do involves certain amount of, thank you, Teresa. All of us have to have a certain amount of risk that we're comfortable with and not comfortable with. Awesome, awesome. Okay, let's jump into the red hat. I'm curious. This is typically what I find is usually pretty much our fastest one. Again, getting into our hunches. You know, what are your personal feelings about this? And I'm going to use the E word, emotions. You know, how are you feeling about this? You know, do you think this is a possibility? Do you think this really can happen? I'm curious. What are your hunches? The minute I said to you, we're going to convert four-way stops to roundabouts, what was your initial feeling?
I mean, if you get emotional about it, somebody might say, I don't like circles. How about that? That's my hunch. Why do I need a circle? I like squares. You know, what's up with that? Okay.
Yeah. And here's the thing, giving people a chance to speak and give their perspective, getting their points of view, getting that out there. You know, my intuition is, I don't know if the US is ready for this. By the way, what can we do when we put this out there? When you say, my intuition, I don't know if we're ready, or you know, we might need a little bit more of something. What happens when you put that out there?
I've learned a long time ago never to discount your intuitions. There is something underlying everything. And if you don't pay attention to that, a gotcha is going to come out of nowhere.
Get it out there. Just get it out there.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. Let's uncover it. Let's lift up the covers and let's see what's going on here and see if there's something we can resolve. Yeah. A skeptic. Yeah.
So and I have a very skeptic question about this. There's an awful lot of roundabouts that have been converted either to traffic lights or stop signs. So it's not that we're converting more stop signs into roundabouts, we're going the other way around.
And then so that would be something I've seen. Hasn't this been different in other places? Didn't New Jersey used to be all about roundabouts? In New Jersey, they called them jug handles. They call them the jug handle. And they're converting them now to four-way stops. Yeah, are we going against the green on this? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Skeptic in this is the city in terms of infrastructure design. Tell us more about that, Indira.
Yes, because I'm not sure that all the projects always, because if we know the right reason, but sometimes I have drawn in a place where the runabout was in a freeway. There were a lot of runabouts in a freeway, and it was in Iceland, and we were like crazy because you drive like high speed, and then there's a runabout, and then you need to slow down, but maybe a truck behind you is like, I don't know. Sometimes the design and the thinking, the thoughts about put it into the project, there are like.
I'm not understanding what was there before the roundabout. I mean, there must have been a four-way stop or just a two-way stop where people are trying to bolt across a highway. Or was it just an underpass or an overpass?
There were not underpass. We were like so amazed. Why is this in the freeway? And it was like several runabouts. It was nothing like no underpass. I guess it was because of that.
My intuition is stupidity doesn't work.
Well, and Bob, I like where you're going to this is, are we always comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges? And are we doing true comparisons about, especially when we start looking at the data? Love it. Yeah. And Jen, I want to hear your thoughts here when you say problem solving of fears. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, just 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm here with my kiddo, so you might hear some background noise and things. We're watching some Mickey Mouse. But I kind of feel like if you give voice to like, oh, I'm worried the US isn't ready for this. Well, why not? And then, well, what can we do to prepare the general US, or how can we problem solve some of those concerns that might be coming up and help like maybe feel more comfortable with preparing the US for roundabouts, because that's, a huge change and a huge task. Is kind of where I was going with that.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's exactly right. And getting into like school zones here too. Is it school zones that we need to do more education with? Do buses have different paths? How do we do this? And again, this is giving the space for healthy dialogue. And too often we don't see this where people are able to get different perspectives and giving people the space to be able to disagree and have that healthy dialogue and giving it there. Love it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the green. And in the green, this is, we talked about this a second ago, and we said in the yellow that creating more jobs, that's an opportunity there. That could be one. This is taking it a step further, thinking about the creativity. Okay, are there new possibilities, alternatives, new ideas? And I love this idea when we tap into this infinite possibilities. What might be? How might we use this? And I'm going to use one example. I don't want to taint it, but this is my example, is that in that roundabout, in that center space, could we use that for something? For instance, let's say we had a community leader who was an amazing civil rights activist. Could we put a statue for him or her? Let's say we have a signpost. Maybe we could put different signs there for different community events. Maybe we can have it for a new upcoming building that's happening, or whatever it may be. But that middle section, that grass area, maybe we could have flowers, different, people do something. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying that green hat is the possibility. What are the creativities? That's just one example, is how might we leverage that middle section to have it for something that really is unique about that community. Does that make sense for everybody? I want to make sure that does that make sense when we're talking about creativity and new possibilities.
So you're assuming that the answer is go for roundabout.
Yes. And at that point, what are new possibilities that we could, as a result of going into the roundabouts, what are some new possibilities that could happen? Thank you, Saba, for asking that. And what I'm saying is, in that center section, we can use it for advertising, for promoting the culture of the community.
I would say also put sensors on each of the roads so that you can notify the other ways that, a yellow blinking light means someone's coming straight ahead. A red blinking light means someone's coming from your left, entering in before you, and have it timed. So you're more aware, and you're aware of what's going on and how cautious you have to be. And if you see the green blinking, it means there's no sensors picked up anybody coming into the roundabout. So you pretty much have a clear way to go.
Yeah. Love it. This is, using technology. Leverage what's the technology that we can have. Love it. Sammy, this is a real roundabout just outside of UK.
Yeah,
Tell us
so
about
in Canary Wharf, which is the Isle of Dogs, so it's kind of like the second CBD of main London. There's a big roundabout which has this art on it. I do inverted commas, which is like crazy traffic lights in the middle, but it's kind of like just a joke, really. People ignore it and they just drive around the roundabout normally.
Yeah, love it, love it. No, it's cool putting our and Jen's building upon that. You're enhancing your community engagement through adding more sidewalks, benches, trees, grass, art outside the circle to do it safe. Yeah, having different things there. Love it. And so this is where you really try and lean into this and say, are there other possibilities that can happen as a result of this? Are there different partnerships that we can have? Seasonal decorations, absolutely. And so there's so many different ways you can lean into this. Indira, anything you want to add to that you've used for the green?
Oh, the green, I'm going with it was Sarah. Sometimes is to see if we have other alternatives. So now we are just being creative. We are being creative about the fact that we are going to do it, but sometimes, well, if there are other ways.
Yeah. Are there other ways to do this? For instance, do we even have to have roundabout? Can we have people commuting, sharing rides and so forth? Love it. Love it. And what happens when we start thinking about this, the infinite possibilities? What ends up happening?
We're actually teaching ourselves to buy into the idea.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. Magic. I love it. Yes. The magic happens. Yeah. All right. And now we get into our blue hat. Oh, our blue hat. And this is where I love to say this. We're thinking about this thinking process that we've gone through, and putting the different controls and process of, how do we make sure we're having the right perspective? We said we want to make sure we're reducing conflicts. Are we really reducing conflicts? Thank you, Sammy. Great to meet you. Peace be with you, man. We'll talk to you soon here. And I love to put in here, measure success. Do we have all the measurements right up front? I like to tie these like with a bookend with the white hat up front. Are we really talking about this? We said this is how much it'll cost. Is it really going to cost that amount? Are we doing that? Are there different controls in place? What other questions would you like to have? What other questions do you think we could have here? We're talking about measurements and controls and managing the thinking process. We said we
Well, I
want to
kinda-
make sure. Oh, I interrupted
I
somebody.
kind of like, with some like this, I would want to have a couple of test cases and use data from a before and after.
Have some test cases and do some before and afters, do some comparison, some real world approaches here. Yeah, we said we want to make sure everybody has, there's equity, that everybody has a chance to talk. Did everybody have a chance to share their opinion? Did we said this is going to reduce conflict. Did this reduce the conflict? That's what I mean. We're saying our thinking process, that we look at this and we really analyze, are we following the process that we said we're going to? Okay. And I'm going to jump ahead here, using this on the job. So I'm curious, have you ever thought this much about thinking about a problem, an opportunity, like a roundabout? How did you think this exercise went? What would you do differently? And most importantly, how would you use this in your role? I'm curious, how would you use this in your role? Regina, I see your wheels turning here. How do you think that we could use this?
I think you have some powerful questions there that when you facilitate, I've never done this particular exercise. I've done other similar ones. But there's powerful questions to ask in the room, right? And then setting those expectations up front. Hey, we have to have these conversations. Let's look at it from different approach. I think that's pretty good.
Love it. Love it. Powerful questions. You want to have better results? Come up with better questions. I think that's so key. Excellent. King David, how about you? You've been quiet for a minute here. How would you use this on the job?
So I think it's a bit noisy over here, but I hope I can just drop my 2 cents before I hang up. And so thank you, first of all, team, for this exercise. It's been a very wonderful one. I haven't used this before, but this is I think asking using the 5 whys from the lean space. This is something that I think I would like to explore moving forward. I think it's been a very good exercise. So I appreciate the different ideas and thoughts and the curious minds that come up from different hats. And I think it's something that I would like to explore further down my career.
Yeah, curiosity is a wonderful thing. I love that. Thank you so much. Saba, how about you? How would you use this in the real world?
This is a new model for me. And as we're going through this, I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is like mind blowing. I don't know why I haven't heard about this before. But a use case for me would be there's always somebody on your team that is kind of like shy and reserved and don't really want to come out of their shell. And doing this exercise and giving them like the different hats open up the stage for them to participate on a bigger level. I think this is going to draw more participation from some of my team members that normally kind of sit on the sidelines and keep quiet.
Love it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Maribel. We'll talk to you later. Yeah, thank you, Saba. That was great. Yes. Again, especially the people who are the introverts, they may have some really deep insight to share. Yeah. How about you, Indira? Anything you'd like to add? How you've used this, or how you could use this, different perspectives here you'd like to add?
Yes, even rather than what I already have mentioned, even in the day-to-day, in a specific conversations, maybe we don't need to use all the hats, but just to moderate the conversation, we can just say, hey guys, why don't we stop for a minute and we see what is the advantage of doing this? And that's my yellow hat, maybe. And that's what the conversation needs at that moment. And maybe I going to just after talk about the green hat, and that's what I needed at that point. So it depends on the situation, but yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add in the real world and what their jobs are, or even in a personal life, you could use this?
Yeah, I was thinking I'm a therapist within families. It could be a really good tool to use to invite like parents and kiddos and different members of the family to discuss situations that are going on in their life in a not charged way. And I also love that you're actually physically using hats, because I think it's a visual reminder to yourself and everyone in the room that, okay, now we're changing our thought process. And I think that's really helpful.
Thank you, Jen. Love it. Very well stated. Excellent. And so here's the thing, is that Edward de Bono, he really is about how to think. And it's really about being deliberate and how we think and interact and collaborate with people, and being deliberate with our thinking approach. In the Agile methodology, it's really about how do we get our teams collaborating, working together, being the self-working teams. And this is a tool to help get you there. And so I wouldn't be able to do this without Edward de Bono. I'm just leveraging his expertise. Again, my name is Tim Cormier. I'm the starting up my new consulting firm, Cormier Executive Optimization, Coaching and Consulting. For more information, here's my email. And if you'd like to call and do a deeper dive into this, this is what I'm here for. And I just want to say thank you so much, Ali, for helping me coordinating and do this and being the producer for this information. And Regina, as always, it's a pleasure to collaborate with you and just have teamwork. And I look forward to further partnership with you.
So it was a pleasure. We'd love to